Andy.
Hiya, Melanie. How are you today?
Oh, I'm fine. The sun is shining in Lampeter.
Excellent. It isn't shining on your face today.
Oh,
Sometimes
I'm
you're
sure.
glowing.
I'm sure it will, given time.
Righty-ho. As it moves around, it will illuminate you. You're
I need a bit
preaching
of
on,
illumination. This is an odd reading, isn't it?
well, it is a bit, isn't it? And it's short, isn't it? Yes, yes. And you wonder, don't you, what the Pharisees' motives are, right, in verse 31, where he tells Jesus, leave this place and go somewhere else. What's he really trying to do? Is he trying to
Yeah,
protect Jesus, or is he on Herod's side? Yeah,
yeah. It's an
who knows?
intriguing way to start, isn't it? And you could easily miss it and skip on to the rest.
Yeah,
But it's the Pharisees come to tell Jesus that Herod wants to kill him. Now the
yeah.
Pharisees are not really Jesus's friends, are they?
But but don't we also tend to caricature them in a way, and we make this assumption that they were all nasties. So maybe there was one or two of them that were quite nice and supporting him, and were just telling him for his own benefit and to help him out. We could take it at face value.
Yeah, well, it could be. Well, there was Nicodemus, wasn't there?
Indeed, yeah,
Could it be
yeah.
Nicodemus and his pals?
It may be. We don't know, do we? We're not. They're not
No,
named.
no, but we do know that though the Pharisees were natural allies with Herod, that they
Yeah,
do team up with him
yeah,
against Jesus.
yeah. And we get, don't we, straight after that, well, leave this place, go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you. And, already starting to get the laying the groundwork for the cross and what's going to come on Palm Sunday and Holy Week and Good Friday. Herod wants to kill you.
Yeah, but I think the beginning of verse 32 would give a bit more credence to the this not being a friendly visit from Nicodemus and his pals, because he
Hmm.
tells these Pharisees to go back to Herod, doesn't he? Go and tell that fox for me. So it kind of implies that they are in league with Herod, wouldn't you say, rather than they've just overheard that Herod wants to kill Jesus, that they are actually in league with him. So go
Yeah,
back and tell him this. So it's
Jesus seems to know that perhaps they are agents of Herod. Yeah, and they're going to be able to give that message back to Herod. I thought the use of the word fox is interesting. There's a real insult there, isn't there? Calling Herod a fox. There's an element of contempt and sort of saying, a fox, it might be cunning, but it was also regarded as insignificant. And whether that's what Jesus is telling Herod,
or
really, you're
dis
insignificant.
or just it's quite negative in the Bible, isn't it? The use of the fox in the Old Testament is quite negative because we might see that as a compliment in a way. You might think of a cunning, sly old fox, which could be quite positive, couldn't it, in a strange way, but not here. Um,
Hmm.
I've got a few references where fox is used in the Old Testament. Nehemiah 4:3,
Hmm.
Lamentations 5:17 and 18, Ezekiel 13:4, and it's not positive at all.
No, no, but it's quite a derogatory term.
Yeah. But Jesus,
Yeah,
Jesus isn't bothered though. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? So Herod is plotting to kill him,
yeah,
but it doesn't derail Jesus's plans, does it? It doesn't let it
no,
alarm him.
yeah. Which is what 32 goes on to say, isn't it? Go tell that fox, I will keep on driving out demons and healing people today and tomorrow, and on the third day, I will reach my goal. As you say, nothing is going to deflect Jesus from his mission, what he's come to do. Whether that's Satan or Herod or whoever, nothing will.
And that's a good lesson for us as God's people as well, that actually our lives are in God's hands and his purposes and his plans will come to fruition. We don't need to be afraid.
Yeah. And there's a recognition that if Jesus was hated, Um, as Jesus himself said, if they hate me, they're going to hate you. So Jesus is uh, fixed on his goal and he refuses to be intimidated. And Melanie, you want to read us some JC Ryle?
I do. I've got a JC Ryle quote. Here it goes. It's quite, if I read the whole thing, it'd be a bit long, so I'm just going to nip in at the middle. But he's talking about this matter of recognizing that God's in control. He says, we should therefore endeavour to leave things to come in God's hands and not be over anxious about health or family or money or plans. To cultivate this frame of mind would add immensely to our peace. How many of our cares and fears are about things which never come to pass? Happy is that man who can walk in our Lord's steps and say, I shall have what is good for me. I shall live on earth till my work is done and not a moment longer. I shall be taken when I am ripe for heaven and not a minute before. All the powers of the world cannot take away my life till God permits. All the physicians on earth cannot preserve it when God calls me away.
Yeah,
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 wise words again.
yes, from Bishop Ryle.
Yeah, always wise words.
Yeah, yeah. So Jesus is going to keep on his mission. He's not going to be intimidated. He will go on with his work until completion,
Yeah, and the
until the third day.
completion. So that the finishing of his work is the translation I've got, the end of verse 32. It pairs with the end of verse 33, doesn't it? You get what that finished work is, that he's going to be killed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So he knows he's going to die. He's just not going to die in Herod's time frame. He's going to die when his work's finished and it's God's time.
yeah. And on the third day, which is a Lucan term for the resurrection. Yeah, I will reach my goal, says Jesus.
Mm.
Nothing's going to stop that. And isn't that just such a blessing for us? As we look back, that is Jesus's death and resurrection that earns us a place back in relationship with God. And it was because Jesus was not going to be distracted from his mission.
Because of his love. And I think that's why Luke pairs these two things, because really this reading, though it's very short, it's in two parts, isn't it?
Mm,
Because we've got this bit with the Pharisees coming with this message,
yeah,
but then we've got Jesus weeping over Jerusalem. Of course, it comes much later in Matthew's gospel than
yeah,
it comes here. Because I have to say, I disagreed with JC Ryle, you know.
you didn't.
I did. I
How
did.
did you disagree with Bishop Ryle?
Well, he reckons that Jesus said these words on two occasions.
Right.
Now, for some of the stuff that we get in the Gospels, I'd agree with that. Like the Sermon on the Mount stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was teaching, he was delivering, maybe in different places, but with the same content. Whereas this seems to me an emotional kind of experience as he looks out on Jerusalem.
Yeah,
So I think that Luke has moved it here to make a
right.
particular theological point.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, Luke, Matthew, they would have ordered their material to suit their particular aims, their particular story, particularly Luke's use in verse 32 of on the third day, which is a death and resurrection motif that runs throughout the gospel. It would fit in with that. And the general appeal at this point to the Jewish people to return to Israel, to return to Jerusalem, to return. So it would fit with Luke's narrative.
Yeah, and just the Jerusalem motif. You know,
Yeah,
he's got to go to Jerusalem, and then he's thinking it. He connects it with Jerusalem and how he responds to the people living in it. But I think it
yeah,
also shows his great love, because why is Jesus not going to be deterred from that mission to go to Jerusalem and to die? Well, it's because
Yeah,
it's because of his great compassion and love for the people, even though most of them don't love him back.
yeah. And that's what's really telling, isn't it, in sort of 34, that Jesus responds they reject him, but he responds with compassion, which wouldn't be our reaction, would it? You know, if we're rejected, we swear and curse under our breath and kick the dust and whatever. But Jesus responds with compassion. As you say, he still loves the people of Israel.
Yeah, and it's a real. I love the real deep love. I love the image of the hen gathering the brood under her
Mm.
wings. You know,
Now, it's
it's just
funny
it.
you should say that.
Go
Really
on.
funny you should say that. Because in the psalm, that the appointed psalm, Psalm 27, if I can find it in my notes on the psalm, which I've got somewhere, in our English translations, it's mistranslated. But if you if I can wait, find it now. But if you translate it, hang on, carry on talking while I just find it. I can't find it now. I was looking at it last night. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Isn't that the way? Um,
Well, I can talk about that image of the mother while you're looking, but you'll have to
yep,
stop
yep.
muttering.
You carry on, Melanie.
I say what I love about that image of the hen gathering her chicks. It's such a tender image, isn't it? And it's a protective image. You know,
Yeah,
if a bird of prey is coming and looking to have a tasty morsel of one of those little chicks, you know, she's spreading out her wings to protect them. The sun is shining, if it's cold, whatever, she's there, she's protecting them. And it's that motherly love that Jesus has. And
yeah.
I just love the sort of the female imagery in it.
Well, if you go to the Psalm, Psalm 27, verse 10, our English translations translate it as, though my father and my mother forsake me. In English, the English translations say, the Lord will receive me. But a more accurate translation is, the Lord will gather me. So there, the psalmist really contrasts it, as you've done, with the earthly father, father and mother. They forsake, but God gathers, with all the imagery that you've just been talking about. And that's what the psalmist picks up in Psalm 27. It's a wonderful, wonderful psalm. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, I've just sidetracked.
Oh, you love your psalms, don't you?
I do love the psalms, yes. Yeah.
I'm with JC Ryle, you have a bit on the psalms every time.
Yeah, yes,
But
yes.
it is, I just find it when I think, when I stood in Jerusalem or overlooking Jerusalem, because there's a spot you can go to where there's a church, but you know, they build a church and everything, don't they, in the Holy Land. But there's a church built there overlooking Jerusalem, and it's actually got a picture of a hen sort of
Yeah.
built into, I think it's the altar or a window, so I can't remember now the detail of it. The Teardrop Church, that's it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I just think of Jesus just looking over Jerusalem and looking at all those people who he loves, who've rejected him and who won't come to him, because that's the real pathos here, isn't it? It's not that they've rejected him and that's a bit hurtful to him, but he's going to love them anyway. It's the fact that they're not willing to come and be saved, basically.
Yeah, yeah. The wonderful thing about the psalm is something that you've just said, um, about Jesus gathering. And in the psalm's talking about the house of the Lord. And in New Testament terms, what replaces, and obviously the psalmist is talking about the temple. Um, but in New Testament terms, in the light of Jesus, what replaces the temple? Jesus does. So where am I gathering them to? I'm gathering them to the house of the Lord, which is, in New Testament terms, Jesus. That was wonderful, wonderful.
Mm.
Yes,
But there is something there about how people respond to Jesus, isn't there?
yeah,
That Jesus's love is for everyone, for all the people who've been made. Because he's looking out over Jerusalem. He's not just looking at the Pharisees or Herod or whatever, is he? He's talking about the whole of Jerusalem there, and
yeah,
his love is really inclusive in that sense. But
yeah,
it's people's hearts who won't accept Jesus, and it's
yeah,
they're still the same today.
yeah, yeah.
We can preach the gospel in the most exciting way. We can do all the most radical things in church, or we can do the most glorious worship, whatever tradition it is, can't we? But unless the Lord changes their hearts, people's hearts are still going to be hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because if they were hard towards Jesus when he was there in person, well, we
Even
shouldn't
more
expect any
so.
different now.
Yeah, yeah. Rejection again. Yeah. And then 35, he carries on that motif that the psalmist picks up. Look, your house is left to you desolate. Judgment is coming, but it's there's still a note of tenderness there.
Mm.
Almost, look, your house is left to you desolate. What's the house? The temple. You will not, I tell you, you're not going to see me again until you say, blessed be he who comes in the name of the Lord. So there's a prophecy of judgment there as well. Judgment is coming. But I don't want you to be judged. I want you to escape it. So come to me. Let me gather you to me.
Mm. Because going back to the psalm, because more properly, Jesus is probably using motives from the Psalms rather than the other way around, of course.
Well, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the psalmist is also wonderful. Sorry. If you go to the opening couple of verses, or verse 1 of the psalm, it tells you why we can be so confident. It tells you why Jesus would stick so resolutely to his path. He tells us why we can be confident when we face the same hatred, the same opposition as Jesus does. Why can we be confident? Well, he gives us three reasons um, in that opening verse that tell us something about who God is, that he's our light, he's our salvation, and he's our stronghold. Wonderful, wonderful psalm. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked again.
There's that thing, going back to the JC Ryle quote, is to not be afraid, because God is in control. Jesus
Yeah,
knew it in his life, although we are not the Messiah. Um, God is in charge of our lives too. Our lives are in his hands
yeah,
from, the moment he formed us in our mother's womb until we return to be with him,
yeah,
where we are in his hands. Um, which is a wonderful comfort, isn't it? When we get fed up and stressed and
yeah,
afraid, but because there's a lot going on at the moment to make you afraid, isn't there? You're looking at
yeah,
around what's happening in the world and all this business with Trump and Putin and all the rest of it. It is quite frightening, but
yeah,
the Lord knows
yeah,
because the world is in His hands.
yeah. Another little point I like is on verse 34, or certainly in the NIV, the sort of very end phrase, you were not willing. So, Jesus wants to gather us up. He takes the initiative. He wants to gather, but we're the ones who are not willing to respond to Jesus's love. I just think that's a lovely little phrase, or certainly in the NIV. You were not willing. Are you willing to be gathered up by Jesus? Yes, I am. I pray.
What do you make of the final sentence? I tell you, you'll not see me until the time comes when you say, "Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord."
Hmm.
What's he referring to?
That's a really good question, isn't it? Either, one automatically assumes it's the triumphal entry, but I'm not sure it is the triumphal entry. I think it's got something to do with judgment and the second coming. And certainly, if you go with where Matthew places this incident, it can't be the triumphal entry. But does JC Ryle have anything to say? We'll bow
Um,
before him.
not a lot on this matter,
Oh,
actually.
right. Okay. That's a shame. But hey ho. What do you think?
Well, I think it might be a bit of both ends
Okay.
because it does hint so clearly to the triumphal entry, but it's more than that because the triumphal entry in itself is a shadow of something to come, isn't it?
Hmm.
When Jesus comes in true triumph, when he returns. And of course, when he
Okay.
returns, he comes with judgment, but also
Yeah.
with life because of the new heaven and the new earth.
Yeah. 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 So maybe Jesus is quoting the psalmist um, at the return. It's his return when judgment, prophecy of judgment. You will not see me again until you say, prophecy, second coming, the return of Jesus. So you're preaching on this on Sunday,
Yes, I am.
adult sermon or children's sermon?
Adult sermon. The last time I did this 3 years ago, I did it as an all age service. So
So when you did it as an all-age service, did you focus on the chickens?
I had 3 points when you should ask.
Right?
Remember, God is in control.
Yeah,
Pray for your enemies. So
right.
that's a bit of stretching it a little bit,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. But and know Jesus is coming back.
Right. Yeah. So you didn't focus on the hen or the hen bit.
Well, we did a little bit, but it wasn't the sole thing. We did cover the whole passage. I gave everybody a little chocolate of a chicken
Ah,
with the Bible verse on it
yeah,
attached to
great.
it.
Where did you get those from?
Just get them in the shops, don't you? Because it's running up to Easter. You get little things
Right.
with chicks on.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant that the chocolate chicks came with the Bible verse already on. You put the Bible verse on.
Well, I made a card and then I
Right.
stuck the chick onto the card.
Got you. Got you. Very nice. Are you going to do that this Sunday?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. They wouldn't appreciate it.
No, I'm not in the parish church. I'm in one of the two of the smaller country churches.
Okay. Okay. Well, enjoy your chocolate Easter egg or chicken.
I won't be having any yet, Lent, anyway, isn't it?
Well, you
I
never
had to say
know.
to the people, if you give up chocolate for Lent, then you keep this. You stand it where you can see it. You read the Bible verse, and you look forward to eating that chocolate. And as you look forward to eating that chocolate, you look forward to Jesus returning.
Very good. Very
I've
good.
not, I've not been a vicar for the best part of 3 decades for nothing.
Well done. Well, enjoy yourself.
Happy preaching.
And you. Ta-da. Bye-bye.
Bye.